What has changed under Michael Skubala?
I found this really interesting looking into this today, because I think certainly for me, this was, as I mentioned earlier, this was the big line in the sand about saying, okay, 10 days on the pitch, it's been game after game after game after game. We've known all about the injuries. There's been so many kind of understandable reasons to explain the situation that we've been in. But of course, we always want to look forward, and we're thinking, well, was it the right decision to move change manager? What are we looking to move forward into? What has or is changing? And I really felt like yesterday was our first opportunity to really see that. And I don't normally like looking at numbers and statistics when you're looking at this as to kind of an overview with just looking at one match in isolation.
So nobody's going to believe that you don't like looking at numbers.
Oh no, I do. I love looking at numbers, but I don't like to kind of build a picture just in isolation. Looking, okay, this happened in one match, therefore that explains compared to the average of everything else what's happening. But I think we can read a fair amount into this one, because this was one where things have changed quite significantly. But the first thing we changed obviously was formation. That's obviously the big one. 2 up top, 4-4-2/3-5-2 kind of hybrid, but primarily 4-4-2. Obviously a big change. Numbers wise though, under Mark Kennedy, there were 3 particular metrics that we were 24th out of 24 for compared to the whole league. The first one was touches in the box. We had 18 touches in the box yesterday, according to Y-Scout. That was significantly higher than our average of 10. Under Mark Kennedy, our average was 10, and that is lowest in the league, or it was at the time. 18, if that becomes our new average, puts us 5th in the league for touches in the box per 90. That's obviously better, significantly better. Crosses. Again, that's been a huge difference. So we put in not only the lowest number of crosses, but also had the lowest successful cross percentage in League One under Mark Kennedy. With, I can't even see how many it was. I think it was 11 per game with like a 20% success, or maybe 18% success. 21 crosses yesterday. If 21 becomes our season average, that'll be 3rd highest number of crosses in the league. Biggest one though, this is massive for me in terms of, has our style shifted? It's something called passes allowed per defensive action, or PPDA. So we were 24th out of 24 for this under Mark Kennedy, hovering around the 15-16 mark, which means that we allowed the opposition to have 15 to 16 passes before we won the ball back, or attempted to win the ball back, or it went out of play. So a defensive action is basically the opposition losing the ball. That's the average. That was 24th. And we were, not only were we 24th, we were actually 24th by a mile as well with that, compared to a lot of other teams. Now, this isn't just this game, actually. This is so it was just over 9 it was 9.03 this game, so significantly lower. But in the last 3 games, our PPDA is actually averaged at 8.77, which again puts us 3rd in the league. So this doesn't necessarily show we're now the 3rd best team, but it shows that we are the 3rd most aggressive presser in the last 3 games compared to the season average, compared to being the most passive team out of possession in the league, as we were under Mark Kennedy. You can't, like, as much as you can sometimes get lost in numbers, and you can say numbers on their own, and if you can make them say what you want, and I agree with that, when you look at them in context and combine these numbers together, it helps you paint a reasonably clear picture. Sometimes you can't see all these things in the moment by moment of a game. We are pressing higher under Michael Skubala. That's happened not just against Wycombe, that's happened consistently, really, primarily over the last 3 games. And then if the second half against Wycombe is anything to go by, there has been a real shift here compared to the Lincoln City that we saw in the first half of this season. So if we're able to continue this, or elements of that, what we saw in that second half, then I'm really excited. And I think the last thing I wanted to say on Wycombe really is, regardless of the result, obviously we all want to win, or we all want to get something out of the game. Regardless of the result, what did I really want to see against Wycombe? And that was a step forward and an indication of what it is going to look like. And to be honest, hopefully just a bit, an assertion, I suppose, that we are moving in the right direction and there is something to look forward to. And even if we hadn't scored that last minute equaliser, I would have got that genuinely. I think that would have been more difficult to convince people of on this podcast if we hadn't scored that last minute equaliser. And that moment was wonderful. So we've got a real sense of positivity now. What a moment to go into our next game, that the death like that, but also from a slightly more kind of statistical and tactical perspective, there has been a real shift here. And it can only improve, can't it? It can only get better.
Yeah.